Hi everyone, thanks for watching episode 2 of Let's Get $25 Chainsaws and see what we can do with them and how they can run. Second one here is a Homelite Super EZ, and according to the serial number, it looks like a 1972, if the information I have is correct. These are fairly plentiful saws, I found in my experience. I like them. I am a Homelite collector just because they are a plentiful saw to come by, and it's easy to start a collection of them, especially the older ones. The Super EZs are they're a nice light saw. They seem to have a lot of features that are nice. They got a throttle lock / automatic decompression switch. And one thing I like about this switch is you can just push a button and it automatically sets the throttle. You don't have to hold the throttle and then push it in. From what I could find on the internet, these went to a solid state ignition in 1979, and I believe they had some issues with I don't know if you pronounce it Poulan or Felon, solid state ignition, and then there's a Wico or Wico. Again, I don't talk to a lot of people about saws, so pronunciation is not necessarily my strong point. But the little bit I think this is my fourth, maybe even up to 6 of these I have now, of various colors and things. I don't have any of the older blue ones, but I have a few of the red ones. Some are all red. I don't think I have any of the plastic ones. I think the final version was made out of plastic in the 80s with the solid state ignition. So all of the ones I have kind of seem to be in the lower to late 70s, including this one. So one of the very first things I noticed about this saw when I got it out of the box for it was that there's something going on wrong with the handle system here. So that's pretty scary looking to me. So we'll take a look at that first. And I believe I did check for spark on this machine. It has spark. And we'll check the compression here in a little bit as well. And I should probably get the proper socket for this. And we got a crack across here. That's not a good sign. Maybe the saw was dropped. It would explain why it was picked out of the trash. Unfortunately, I wasn't the guy picking it out of the trash, so I had to pay for it. But it was on the shelf, and I thought, well, I'll pick it up. See what kind of luck I have with these. Since I was there anyway, getting a couple other ones. Looks like the saw has a lot of hours on it. May not be able to be used depending on what we find in here. And it looks like the clutch cover is missing. I believe this should have a cover on it. All the ones I'm familiar with do. Appears that the oiler was working. Not sure if that means the automatic oiler or just manual, but there's plenty of oil getting to the bar and chain here, which is good. So as you can see, I can move this whole side of the chainsaw, which includes the right section of the crankcase. And I don't know if there's supposed to be a bolt in there, but that may be some of the problem. So it's probably not just a matter of tightening things up. And there's some fuel left in here too, it looks like. Yep, quite a bit. And I'm sure that is very old. Because of my allergies, I kind of lost my sense of smell, so can't tell you what that's like, but I would guess that that's not very fresh just by looking at it. So let me play around with this a little bit and see if I can at least tighten things up. If it's going to be that easy, it probably won't be. So in order to get at what we're trying to get to, this, I don't even know what you want to call it, back plate or whatever, looks like there's a bolt missing there. The other two, I had a screwdriver on them. They were tight, but it was still, the back plate was still loose, so we're going to have to get the clutch off. Maybe that's what somebody was trying to do, was take the clutch off. They got the outer cover off and then they gave up on it. This screw here was also loose, not the chain tensioner, but the Phillips here, which when I tighten it up a little bit seemed to help. But we'll see if we can get that clutch off of there. And the typical way I've always done it, and I've only haven't done it a few different times, and that's essentially either put rope or something in there. You want to take the, after you get the spark plug out, move the piston to where it's at bottom dead center, if you want to call it that, or as far away from the spark plug side as possible. Then just pack something in there that you can pull back out, usually rope, or I just happen to have some, looks like leather shoestring here, and just put in there as much as you can. And the idea is when the piston comes back, it's going to try and compress that, which it can't. And then that'll allow you to remove the clutch, which you have to turn clockwise. And of course, clockwise goes against which way the recoils. Recoils essentially making it go clockwise, which you wouldn't want to use the recoil anyway to hold up against that, trying to get that clutch off there. And it isn't important that this is absolutely full. The main thing is you just want something in there that isn't going to break apart on you or cause problems with the ports. If you put something that's hard or strong like steel or wire or something, not that anybody would ever do something like that, but, or if you try and put a metal bar in there or something to hold the, or a rod to hold the piston, you're likely to damage the piston or pop a hole in it, versus packing it full of something that's a little bit softer that you can retrieve later. So not my idea. I read it online like almost everything. Very few things are my ideas. They're just putting into place what other people have stated. Like I said, you don't have to necessarily fill it completely full. The more the better, though. I think we might be in luck with that. It's And the nice thing about working on these smaller saws, they're can be a little bit easier than the bigger ones for getting them apart when it comes to things like this. Although again, I haven't taken out too many clutches. Probably only a second or third one I've ever taken apart. And there's a set of needle bearings in there. So we want to make sure we keep that together the way it goes so we don't run into problems later. Okay, now we can get at these screws a little bit better. I might have to take the oil pump off too. And what do we got going on here? Looks like a sleeve of some sort. Looks like it's got a lot of something in there that looks strange. Like it shouldn't be there, shouldn't be there. It's a piece that's worn. Yeah, there's still a lot of, you can see there's a lot of movement in this plate, but yet these screws are tight. At least this one's seemed like it was pretty tight, but I can get better access to it now, so maybe it will tighten up. It just seems like that should be already starting to take up on it. Let's go ahead and pull the oil pump off. And I've had these apart before, and I think once you take these screws out, I believe it just comes right off. Although there's going to be a pump line going to it, so I can't remember if the line has to be taken off first or not. I just don't remember. If there is, I don't know how you really get to it, but it is full of a lot of sawdust. So let's take these 3 screws out and see what we have. There's the oil pump broke free. Take the screws out all the way, and I guess they are out, except for maybe this one. I can lift off of there. There's your oil pump, at least from the outside. I'm not going to take that apart because I don't believe I need to. Looks like the lines are connected this way, so there is no separate lines to take apart. And there's the crankshaft seal. Now would be a good opportunity to put a new one in if I had one, but I don't. It's kind of hard to tell just by looking in there what shape it's in, although if this was running loose it might have taken it out. So now the question is, do we just want to tighten those up? But I have to get one out for a pattern because it's missing this one down here. How that came out I don't know, but what I can do is take this one out, use it as a pattern if it's the same size, and then I'll try it in there too to make sure it's not broken or stripped off. Yeah, I don't feel a broken stud in there, so that's good, or a broken screw. Full of sawdust though. Just kind of hard to clean out of a blind hole. Might need to try and spray that out. Well, if we're lucky, this will start in there. If we have good threads, I can get another one of these. Might be able to tighten things up. Seems like it's going pretty good. And it's tightening up. Yeah, that tightened things up. What's a little bit concerning is why when I was tightening this one up here, it was not tightening up the cover assembly. I guess I can try it back in there, so I'll have to get another one of these screws. I don't think I have anything like this. It's a flange screw. I'd be very surprised if I have something like this, although I might. It'd take me longer to find it in my storage locations than if I just went to the store and bought one. So we were able to get a missing screw. Went to the local Ace, and I was expecting this to be a little more common. I wasn't expecting necessarily to find a hex head flange with a slot, but I was hoping to find at least two of the three, preferably the flange and the hex head. But it looks like this is a somewhat unique screw that is common in home-lights. You can buy them off eBay in boxes of 25 for like 10 bucks. But I was really just hoping to buy one from Ace, and the closest I could find there was a regular just slotted round head. And it was a little bit longer, so I cut about 3/32 off just to make it about the same length. Ideally, I would have the hex head. I could tighten it a little bit better, but for purposes of this, the 59-cent screw or whatever it was is probably going to be good enough for what we're trying to do. So we'll put things back together and then move on to the next step. As I mentioned earlier, I'm not going to clean out any of the sawdust. You know, if I find out the saw is some phenomenal runner, maybe I'll wish I would have, but at this point we just don't know what we're going to have when we put it back together, and I may actually have to come back in here to change the seal, so at that time I'll look into maybe cleaning this up. One thing I did want to do is put some, while we are in here, although I just mentioned we might not have much luck with this, I am going to put some Loctite on these screws, because it's simple enough to do while we're here. And I don't want the same thing happening again in the future if I end up using this saw regularly. Okay, so those are snugged up by hand. We'll go ahead and put our oil pump back on. We just got to make sure that the flange, or the surfaces where the pump attaches, are reasonably clean. And actually at this point we could try running it, but it's not going to take us very much longer to put the rest of it back together. Then if it does run, then we'll be that much further ahead. So we'll do that. And when you're putting the clutch on, we won't need to tighten it, because the direction of the engine automatically will tighten this on. We can snug it up a little bit just in case for some reason it ends up backing off while we're putting it together, but we really don't need to worry about that. We just need to go ahead and pull this out. We should kind of free the piston if we can, or get the piston and closer to bottom dead center so we can pull our string out. I see the string is pinched now that we move the piston in there. So I may need to try and move it around a little bit here. Hopefully we didn't leave too much of that leather string behind. And we'll double check for spark again. I'm pretty sure I did that already, but my memory is not so good. So I should check again. And hopefully that's grounded enough just to see if we got spark. So there's spark, so that's one battle that we won't have to fight. Check the fuel tank. It's always fun to look in those for the first time in years because you don't know what you're going to find in there. And it's a little less than ideal. Looks like the filter's on. Filter doesn't look too bad. Looks like the hose is intact. So we'll put some gas in it. I always kind of wonder about putting gas in that has ethanol. I don't buy ethanol-free fuel. I would if it was a little more convenient, I guess. Some places have it, some places don't. End up paying pretty good premium for it. Last time I bought it, I think regular methanol 87 was running around $2.50, and recreational ethanol free fuel was like $4.50 or close to $5 a gallon at a store that was kind of off the beaten path. So I get it, the prices are a little higher when you're in remote areas, but to me, since I can't rely on it, I might as well focus on changing the fuel lines instead to Tygon or something more resistant, or hope that these don't degrade too fast. So it looks like the automatic is starting to work. So we'll go ahead and leave it. We'll get the bar and chain on. And maybe make a couple adjustments to the carburetor if needed. It's getting a little dark out to try and make a cut, so I'm probably not going to do that. Whether this chainsaw was going to run or not, it wasn't really that critical to me, but I just wanted to pick it up more to add to the collection. Thought it was worth at least the 25 bucks. Happy to see that it does run. And it's likely that it would be fine with with the bar and the chain and everything's on to go ahead and actually put it to work. So number 2, I'd say, is a success so far. So that's something that you can consider when you're picking up these older saws off Craigslist, Facebook, or if you just find them at local garage stores or garage sales. You can have pretty good luck with them. I'm not saying that every one is going to be a winner. I've certainly bought my share of stuff that ended up being junk, and I continue to do that yet. Sometimes it takes more work than what it's worth, and certainly not worth the money that you pay for it. But a lot of times, I'd say it's over 60 or 70% of the time you can put a little bit of effort into a piece of equipment you buy and still get some good service out of it. Not that you never have to fix it again, but the same thing with the new ones. You find out that those always don't end up being as reliable as you'd like them to be either. So I think we'll go ahead and call that a keeper for number 2. On to number 3 next, and I hope you guys enjoy it, and we'll look forward to seeing you on the next one.